This podcast is brought to you by Primary Arms. Primary Arms seeks to provide the best shopping experience for everything firearms. With over 13,000 products from over 400 top brands, Primary Arms carries a complete selection of rifles, handguns, firearms parts, shooting gear, apparel, and more. Every order comes with a commitment to superior service, backed by fast shipping and an expert support team. Primary Arms, serving freedom since 2008. Find out more at frn.deals/PA. Welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you just bought your first rifle or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley, and I am joined tonight by my co-host, Garth Over.
How we doing?
And our very special guest, who is going by Skyline Shooter tonight. How we doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Nick. How you guys doing, Garth?
Oh, it is a wonderful day because it made it to like all the way to 45 degrees here. So we're starting to melt some ice and snow.
Yeah, shorts weather for you.
Not 1 second today. Oh,
yeah. You're going to laugh at me what we did today in the nice 45 degree weather. We took our new cat for a walk.
I mean, that's cool.
Like, cat, like, you got a lion or a tiger? Or you got some manly cat?
No.
Tell me you don't have like one of those backpack bubbles.
No, God, no. She's what they call a toiger. It's what happens when you mix a gray tabby with a tiger tabby. They just become this like grayish, orangish mess, and it's really beautiful, actually. She's about 6 months old. We got her for my daughter from my co-host from Let's Go Hunt, Dave's house. His barn cats had numerous kittens, as barn cats tend to do, so they needed homes. So we went and picked one up. We almost picked two up, but my wife was like, no. And I was like, oh, but kitty.
Yeah. That when Garth was talking about the backpack bubble, when we were on our way home from SHOT Show in the Denver airport, there was a young lady walking with a backpack mounted on the front, like straps, so it was carried on the front. That was a plastic bubble that contained a small cat,
which we both thought was an aquarium right away. Which, I mean, taking fish on a plane, cat on a plane, really it's the same thing.
Yeah,
it was odd.
Well, everyone's got a service animal nowadays, and I'm pretty sure 3/4 of people don't actually need them, but they're just trying to get away with, seeing how much they can get away with. So, I don't know.
This is my service goldfish. Well, I'm sorry, man, but you can't bring the liquid past the security checkpoint. But he's my service goldfish. I'm sorry, You'll just have to empty out the water, ma'am, and just let him sit there and suffer and flop around until you get past security and can get to a drinking fountain to fill up your fish bowl.
There's going to be a snake someday, and then we're going to have snakes on a plane for real.
So, so United Airlines kind of put a stop to some of the service animal thing when a gal brought her emotional support peacock on and demanded it be given like the same rights as a human.
By the way, he needs the vegetarian meal.
Yeah, but I'm just like, emotional support peacock. That's a new one on me.
Yeah, this is my emotional support capybara.
Yeah.
What?
I have an
emotional support chupacabra.
Hey, this is my emotional support honey badger.
I want
my emotional. Did you say an emu?
Yep.
Well, this is my emotional support skunk.
Yeah.
When I get stressed out, he sprays everybody
cool
else.
Pets. So I've never seen one up close, but man, I'd own a skunk. I think they're pretty sweet.
We had some
Degland.
neighbors.
They're better than a cat of here.
Yeah, they had them deglanded, and I've seen them before several times.
And when you have a skunk on leash, that's when you get some looks.
Yeah, that's true. Say hello to my little friend.
Well, now that we have officially derailed, Mike, he made one comment about his podcast, Let's Go Hunt. That's actually part of the reason why he's on tonight. Is so what is your show? And tell us about that before we get into anything cool anyone else did, because well, I didn't do anything cool other than work on a couple random guns.
Fair enough. So about 3.5 years ago is when I got into we like shooting, and then started to find other podcasts on the firearms radio. Just getting into a lot of them, including this show. And so I started to think, what do I like to do? And what do I like to talk about? And I like, man, I got buddies. We just don't shut up about hunting. Like maybe we could talk about hunting. So I started tossing the idea of a podcast around in my head. And about a year ago, Dave, Sam, and I got together, and we were like, "Hey, do we want to do this?" And we were, "Yeah, we may as well. Let's do it." So we ended up having weekly chats all the way up through the summer, and then started recording episodes at the end of the summer, and that's where we started. And then, the Firearms Radio Network was lacking a hunting show, and Sean from the owner of said network was practically begging people to create a hunting show. So Sam, Dave, and I created a hunting show, and we pitched it to him, and he was like, "Dude, we're in." So here we are. What are we? We are a bunch of idiots that don't really know what we're talking about, but we get together every week and we have a good time recording it like we do know what we're talking about. And we learn
Strange.
on the way.
It's a theme on the network.
We know all about that.
Where can I start with something I know nothing about, and then 10 years later still pretend I'm an expert on it?
Yes,
you make it.
This is a theme on the show. What is it? Well, we're a couple idiots that like to talk about things.
Yeah. But honestly, I think that's what makes us all fun, is because we're all a bunch of idiots.
Yep. So I know that you guys kind of have a wide variety of hunting backgrounds.
We do.
And things with it. And when Garth and I were plotting this out, this is one of those, like, this is going to sound super odd to say, but this is a show almost 2 years in the making, because we originally had said, like, hey, we want to talk about hunting with an AR, and we were going to talk to a couple other people and things that fell through. I was like, wait, this will work perfect. We'll talk to these guys.
Let's talk to guys who may have done it.
Yes. And so I'm an atypical hunter. Like, I grew up super heavy into hunting. Like, we had a preserve, a hunting preserve, where we were paid hunting for pheasant hunting, and even did like some deer hunting and stuff like that. So I grew up running, or not running, but in that, where we hunted for a living. And then went to high school, and we weren't doing that anymore, but still hunted my whole life, and had done pheasants, ducks, geese, deer, antelope, coyotes my whole life. And when so I was a hunter who then became a shooter. And
yeah, that makes sense.
And then it was like, oh, it's I had an AR that we shot prairie dogs and coyotes with, and then that morphed into what some might call an addiction. And it's the now that's just like Wayne was saying here in the comments. He's been hunting whitetail with an AR-10 for the last 5 years. The last deer I shot was a whitetail with one of my suppressed AR-10s, and
nice.
I've moved into that space where I've now shot more deer and antelope and things of that for table fare with an AR than I have anything else in recent memory.
Yeah, they're extremely versatile, and the whole you don't need an AR for hunt. Well, actually, what else is going to go out there and keep the dust down and be accurate enough for 200-300 yards, enough to and have enough energy to actually put a deer down that you can bring to the table. What else are you going to have ammo that's cheap enough to be able to do that? The problem we run into in most states, well, I wouldn't say most states, I don't know most states rules, I know Colorado's rules, and their minimum caliber is 24, so AR-15s are out unless you can get them above, I think it's 6mm would put it above 24.
243 is a 6mm.
Okay,
and so now, and this is where again, every state has their different regulations for what you have to do with hunting.
Yeah,
but like South Dakota, a 223 is a perfectly serviceable deer cartridge. And that's on mule deer or whitetail or antelope. Like
it's more than enough for any of those animals. It's perfectly effective for any of those animals. It'd be effective enough for an elk if you hit it in exactly the right spot.
Yeah, I would not probably try and use one on an elk.
I wouldn't. I'm just saying, if that's all you had and you're in a survival situation, you could try to shoot an elk in the head, especially if you got an LPVO on your AR. You could try to get close enough to one of them random elk herds that just wanders into your property, especially after the zombies have taken over and everything's a ghost town and there's nobody else but elk and zombies.
Yeah,
You just wait for one of them elk to walk into your yard. Especially you in South Dakota, you're going to have elk aplenty walking in your yard.
Well, we're not really, that diverse in elk. Maybe out west, but not where we're located. We have the occasional straggler that shows up. We have a moose that shows up every year. So, but that's not fair game either. So,
well, after most of the human population gets wiped out by zombies, the elk will start repopulating and start getting bolder and venturing back down out of the mountains and back into the plains where they belong.
This country, that might happen sooner or later. So,
well, and technically, since moose is not a native animal to South Dakota, it could be considered an invasive species. But I am not an attorney, and that is not legal advice.
Ooh. If you do happen to need some moose eradicated in South Dakota, I know a few guys that might be willing to sign up for
that. That's just what I say those things, and everyone looks at me and goes, "You're not allowed to talk anymore." But no, it's so. When you were talking about hunting, I know that I've listened to a couple of your shows, and did I robot out there?
You did.
Just a bit.
Okay. Garth, you have a little bit different experience with hunting even than what I do.
Yeah. I never got into the deer scene. I think the last deer I shot, I was like 16 years old. So it's been longer than I'm going to say on air. So, yeah. I don't do deer hunting at all. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. I know people get up at 5 a.m. and go do that, and good for you guys. You're idiots, in my opinion. Sorry. I don't get the thrill. But an AR with a coyote, let's be real. Any hunt you're on and you see a coyote, it becomes a coyote hunt. So we go
absolutely
a lot out here. And our population out here is pretty thick. I know guys have been going out with the sleds. And actually, we've got like 3 guys in county that have helicopters now, and they've got permission from the state to go out and do such type hunts with helicopters and ARs. So I am I need to do some talking to some people and get on that list. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would
But
be.
yeah,
Well, I can honestly say this: for shooting coyotes from an aircraft, you're better suited with a shotgun than you are an AR.
yeah, but I just want to hone those marksman skills.
Fair enough. I'm just,
Yes, double out buck would be a lot funner.
Oh no, technically, like number 6 shell do a doozy of a job on them. Just aim at the base of the tail when you go over. Alleged. Well, I don't even have to say allegedly. I can say I have been told that by someone who did it for a living.
How do you get that job?
Well, you start flying deer hunters around when you're 16 and retire when you're like 72.
Yeah.
I take it back.
Yeah, that would be my father-in-law who had a federal he had a federal contract for predator control.
Oh, nice. That is awesome.
Yeah. So he told me a bunch of the tricks of the trade for shooting deer out of a Piper Cub. I mean,
No, but
shooting
yeah,
coyotes, shooting not deer, definitely never deer.
Not deer. No.
Never had any deer invade the airfield. No, it wasn't deer at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Cough, cough.
But so, like, this is one of those things where when we get into the things that we talk about when we get into hunting, one, we're not going to talk about the stupid AR pattern 12 gauges because they're all dumb. And I guess there's one that maybe works according to Grand Thumb now. But
honestly, I'd rather have an AK patterned one. The doesn't Rock Island have an AK patterned one, or is theirs the AR patterned one?
You robot it out again.
Theirs is an odd, like the furniture kind of looks like an AR, but none of them are what I would call good.
No, I would agree with that. I knew several people that bought them when they came out, and at least one of them had to send it back because there was a crack in the barrel.
Yeah, there's a GS12 or something along those lines that actually like feeds from a proper box mag, not a rock and lock style, and that is allegedly has been fixed, but I believe they only make them in an SBS or some firearm with one of those evil braces.
Oh no, not the evil braces! No, I'm
Yep.
so scared right now of the evil braces. Wait, we're talking about those things that fix your teeth, right?
Yes.
Because those cause way more pain than the other kind.
Yes, 100%. Although speaking of braces, I am going to say one of the major things that led to the rise of AR pistols was actually hunting.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's correct.
I years ago got to go down and we stopped by the Black Rain facility on our way to a national match. And when we stopped by Black Rain Ordnance, we were looking at what they had, and they said their hottest sellers were like 450 Bushmaster AR pistols and 308 AR pistols and all of this. And I asked why. And they said, well, because in Missouri, we have a pistol season. And it was like how the season dates and things worked out. They could shoot with it. That they would so they'd buy this and they'd legally it's a handgun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I know that there was another state that we border to the east that half the state is shotgun and the other half is like the north half is rifle, but you can hunt the shotgun areas with a handgun. So there were guys who were doing 300 blackout ARs, and that's what they were using because an 8-inch barrel would work in those.
Oh man, I love that.
Like it's straight up thumbing your nose at the rules.
Oh, absolutely, but it doesn't matter because the rules are unconstitutional to begin with, and I'm the further on I get in life, the more I think any of them are unconstitutional, and the more I relish the very thought of watching all of these laws crumble under their wake of brewing. It just,
Yep,
I
100%. And when we talked earlier about like some of the caliber restrictions and things of that nature, that is one of the things that has brought like actual innovation to the market, though.
yeah,
Is
I
some of the
agree.
caliber restrictions because, well, it's sure maybe one or two of our listeners has had this. There was a very small cartridge that was out for a while that I believe you can still find in barrels, and it was a 25-45 Sharps.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
I've I've heard of Sharps.
Yep. Oh, this was an oddity, but
No.
it came out after 300 Blackout did, but it was a 25 caliber that you would cut down the 223 case to a 45 millimeter long case, and then you would run a 25 caliber bullet into it.
Oh my god.
So
Seems like overhandling.
Yeah.
Well, it was the thought process was you'd create the brass much like you would for 300 Blackout. When you had to, you'd use the brass that had wrecked a neck or something like that, and then you'd cut it down, and then or you just straight up neck up a 223. I think is actually how it was supposed to work. Was you would neck it up a size to 25, and then you would have a 25 caliber AR that would use all of the standard components, and it was made purely for hunting in states that didn't allow a 22 caliber.
And those are still floating around?
You can find them, but like I said, it's one of those obscure things that I remember and I looked at and went, huh, that's neat. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the military designation of the 5.56 cartridge?
It's the 5.56 by 4.5.
Okay, so it's already a 45 cal or a 45 millimeter, so they just neck it up a little bit to 25.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I honestly wonder if that's how 300 Blackout was invented, because some dude was trimming his 223 brass and he was like, la 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 la. He just got distracted one day and he just whittled it, and then he pulled it out and he's like, oh crap. Wait a minute. He pulls out a 308 bullet and he goes, boop, nope, it fell right in. But if I just neck it down a tiny bit. So he necks it down, spends like days working on this project, necks it down, gets it to grab onto the 308 and goes, boop. I made this.
That's one of those like odd wildcats when it came out. It was the 300 Whisper.
I actually remember hearing that caliber back then.
Yep, the 300 Whisper, and then Freedom Group, Remington Arms and all of that, and AAC, because they'd purchased AAC and they came out with the 300 AAC Blackout, which, like, when you looked at everything and went, hey, these really seem similar. Like, dare I say identical. Like,
it's like when you look at a Hyundai Santa Fe and a Kia Sorento. You're like, wait, these are different companies, but something's off, but not here.
Yeah, then they did that and they said, oh, well, we paid to Sammy spec it. And because, like, I have a Hornady reloading book that doesn't have 300 Blackout listed, but has 300 Whisper listed.
Interesting.
And it's a fairly current one, like 1 generation old.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
My reloading book does not have 5.56. Interestingly enough, it has what seems like the dimensions for 5.56, but they call it 223. It seems to trim out to the 5.56 dimensions. I don't know, but
Yeah, we could delve into the oddities of reloading books and like the 37 I have.
jeez.
Yeah, I went down that rabbit hole for a while and decided I needed all the reloading books.
Oh my goodness.
So I would go to a caliber and then I would open up like 5 books and then compile all the data and then come up with my own anyway.
And we could talk about that. Or we could talk about our ARs and how we like to miss, little animals with them.
Yes.
Oh man. I got this last hunting season. I've got a great story about little animals, and you guys, if you have listened to our show, sorry, you'll hear the story again. If you have not listened to our show, go listen to our show, and sorry, you're going to hear the story again. But so we were out antelope hunting. Dave, Sean, myself, and I took my 5-year-old daughter out with us because antelope hunting's how I got started when I was a kid. My dad took us around as kids. Just it was easy to contain us antelope hunting. You drive around in the country roads of Wyoming and look for white butts in the fields. And then, you get out, you stalk the white butts, you shoot the white butts, you put the white butts in the truck, and you go find more white butts. So antelope hunting is a great child experience from my memory, and I wanted to introduce her to that. And unfortunately, we were down where the white butts were not cooperating. So since we really didn't see anything the first day, I was like, hey, let's go do something fun. Like, not that driving around and looking for animals that may or may not exist isn't really fun, but I was in the mood for some shooting. So I drove past some government and I was like, oh, look, there's some prairie dogs out there. So I start looking some stuff up and I was like, yeah, they're on government. So I text the dudes and I'm like, hey, you guys want to come pop some prairie dogs? Like, that could be fun. Instead of driving around all day not finding antelope, we could actually go shoot some prairie dogs. So of course they were in, and we all brought our hunting rifles out there and just taking shots at prairie dogs as far as 600 yards away. So then we're out there in the field and we're looking at our carnage. Sean and Dave were shooting Sean's 6.5, and I was shooting my 30-06. And so yeah, you do that on a 5-10 pound prairie dog, it hurts them a bit. So we're out there and we're out there looking at them like, look at this one. Yeah, look at this one. I go and pick one up by the foot and they're like, don't touch it. Ugh. What? They carry the plague. Oh, that's all. I got hand sanitizer. Stop whining.
Well, it's not so much that the prairie dogs do, it's more the fleas on them allegedly do.
But in December in the middle of Colorado, it was 10 degrees. There were no fleas on them.
So that was the first thing that I can honestly say I started hunting with giant air quotes,
Yeah.
is prairie dogs. And again, it's because 223, which is the go-to varmint / tractor / pickup round in our area, because you can shoot a prairie dog at 600 yards with it if you're good enough and have the right glass.
Yeah. I was using 30-06, but it's possible. It's definitely doable. As I was always told in the Air Force coming up, ARs are good for M4s are good for point targets up to 500 meters, and AR-15 or
M16s.
Thank you. M16s are good for what? 600 meters for point targets?
Yep. Well,
Depending
yes,
on your barrel length, of course.
no,
But
well, it's so the M16. They all run a 20-inch barrel,
right.
and 600 meters is the standard. And we don't have a token Marine on here to say that they, their qualification, they have to shoot a 600-meter target.
It's kind of nice not to have a token Marine yelling in my ear about blah, 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 open sights, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it. I used a red dot at 25 meters. Doesn't mean I didn't shoot good. Leave me alone.
and then the Army handed them these things.
Oh yeah. And then when they handed the Marines those things, Marines started bitching about having those. Oh, God damn it, I could see too close.
Yeah, the ACOG. But no, so and when you get down into it, they'll also say that 800 meters is air point target for like a saw, but that's because accuracy by volume.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if you definitely need to just rain hundreds of tiny little pellets on a guy at supersonic speeds, that's the thing to do it.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. But that is a different form of hunting, and one that we should not talk about.
No, definitely. I mean, this is all in Minecraft, of course.
Yes, but when we get back to the hunting with an AR, there are people who will say, as we stated earlier, that, oh, well, you can't use one for hunting. And that is almost always a political stunt when they do
It is
that.
100%. It all depends on your magazine.
And when they talk about it, it's there's states that have magazine restrictions and states that do not. Like South Dakota has magazine restrictions for semi-automatic firearms, but not for manually operated ones. And that's easy enough because you just have the right size magazine or put a blocker in it.
Plain and simple.
Did we? Oh, maybe. Anyways, we may have roboted out for a second, but the benefits of an AR, and when it comes to hunting, other than again, as we talked about, the people who will say, oh, this, that, or the other, remember that they can't I think we just lost Mike. He'll be back, but we have Tom. That's me. I'm the token Marine. But thank you for that. And okay, now we got Wayne talking about 10 round mags, the 5-round limiter when he hunts. I do the same. I will use a 5, limit everything to 5 rounds because that's what the rules are for us. And the ability to have those rapid follow-up shots, and then just the amount of different calibers you can have. ARs are becoming more and more common to see people hunt with.
Yeah, 100%. You do have to be careful up here in our neck of the woods, though. I mean, if you are hunting deer with an AR and you have your 5-round mag or your limiter in there, make sure that you are only using those mags and don't have any on your person, because that could be suspect to bad things if the game warden does stop you and you are legal, and all of a sudden, well, you have a 30-round mag, but you're using your 5-round.
Also, don't keep them in the pickup and be like, oh, this mag's just for coyote hunting. And
yeah.
This is my deer mag and this is my coyote mag. No, if you're going to do that, you keep your mags separate so that the limited mags are the only ones you have.
But that's why I don't deer hunt. I just coyote hunt everything.
And we're back. So
I apologize. I live in way too civilized an area to have such potato internet. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, those things happen. I mean, not all of us live in Ohio.
I mean, I
And
could have gotten Starlink if I wanted to, but I
that
didn't know it existed, so therefore I didn't want to because I just didn't know.
yeah, that joke will only go so far with so many people, but
It should go all the way to Ohio at least.
in a couple days, but, or at least in 20 seconds.
Oh,
But what we were just talking about was how, we talked earlier a little bit about some of the things with hunting driving things in the AR market, like the AR pistols. One of the main things I think that we see so many people moving, I know that 10, 15 years ago, we saw the push to call the AR, the modern sporting rifle.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
think I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Oh.
they started pushing for that because the left came out with this assault weapon term in order to describe the black scary guns, and so our side just kind of countered and said no, they're not black scary guns, they are the modern sporting rifle. They literally are the modern sporting rifle. You can do all sorts of shooting sports, including hunting, with them. And most importantly, they're incredibly easy to use for self-defense. So yeah, they are
oh,
truly the modern sporting rifle. And I think that term fits them a lot better than quote unquote assault weapon does.
it does. I mean, I built, or well, I actually I didn't even build it. My 10-year-old daughter built her first rifle,
Nice.
over Christmas break, and we drop a 22 bolt in it, and can go pop flicker tail gophers
Yep.
and stuff on the farm, and then run a can on it and shoot prairie dogs, and she'll be able to take deer with it as well.
Yeah.
But it's a lightweight, small rifle that can get compact enough to have the right length of pull for her.
Mm-hmm.
But then I can also pick it up and use it.
Yeah, and that's they're just the versatility, the ease of function. Like these are honestly features of a rifle that was well designed and versatile for. I mean, I don't have to argue it to you guys. I don't have to argue its merits to you or anybody else that listens to the show, because we all know. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't put enough credit into using it for hunting. And before my internet potatoed out, I was going to tell you a story about after we were done shooting the prairie dogs. We were shooting them with our big calibers, our 30-06 and 6.5. And then we were like, all right, well, let's call it a day. We better pack up and head out of town. So we all, shook hands and hugged and whatever, and went on our ways back to Dave's house at least. And on my way, I come around a corner and there's like 5 or 6 more of them just sitting there 20 yards from the road. So I pull over, get out, chamber around, shoot 5 or 6 prairie dogs on the side of the road, walk back to the truck, unchamber the round, because you have to not have a round chambered in Colorado in your long guns. And then put the mag back in, rifle into the passenger seat, back in the truck. All right, back to Dave's house. 20 yards later, there's 5 or 6 more of them. I repeated that process 5 or 6 times. I emptied a mag doing that. And I remember there was one. I was like, ah, and then it disappeared. And I was like, well, did I get him? And then I see this giant hawk swoop down right to the hole I shot at. Yep, got him.
Oh, very much so. And so, I know more people who hunt deer with an AR anymore here than, take their rifles out or their bolt guns out, because they know that one will hit something.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, because a lot of people, I'm not going to say most, I'm not going to say a few, I'm just going to say there are people out there that have really old bolt guns. I'm one of them. I have a Mauser from, I don't remember when it was built, but it's got the Nazi eagle stamped on the barrel. So it's been sporterized, unfortunately. It would be fun to modify back into an original K98, but I put 20 rounds through it, and I don't know if it just doesn't like the load or if the barrel shot out or what, but it's not that accurate. It's beyond MOA accurate. So I thought about reloading for that and working up a load for it. But in any case, that's a good example of a rifle a lot of people have, which is great for shooting 100 yards or whatever. But if you live out in Colorado, shooting a deer at 100 yards is doable, but it's not easy. In places like, Ohio and Pennsylvania and stuff like that, where you got these green woods and you can't even see 100 yards, let alone shoot 100 yards. Like, yeah, you don't need something that's, sub MOA accurate. But when you're shooting at something that's 300 or 400 yards and this thing shoots 2-inch groups, like shoot that rifle at 400 yards and God knows where your bullet's going to go.
Oh, that's a very common thing. I mean, I do have several bolt guns in my safe, and for years I would be what the stereotypical hunter in our area was, and that is you would go buy the exact same box of ammo you used last year, and then you would go, okay, well, we got to go to the range, and like 3 days before season, you would go to the range, and then just make sure that everything's still dialed in, and use your sandbags and everything, and you'd shoot like 5 rounds, making sure you were still on target, and then because you'd buy this extra box just in case.
But you'd have that 35 rounds to get you through the season, and then you'd go through the season, you wouldn't shoot a thing because you never got close enough,
or you'd shoot one, you'd whack a deer with, my 264 Winchester Magnum.
Yeah.
And
now you got 34 rounds.
You go, all right, I got my deer. And then, you were done. and that's, then you do the same thing the next year.
Yep.
And that was
that's what I was going to ask. How are you guys' antelope out there? I mean, are they as curious as ours are? Because out here, I mean, we're open country, you can see for miles, and our antelope are dumb. Like, man, I can go out there. Literally one day while I was out at harvest, I was parked at my bend site waiting for the trucks to show up. And so I saw a herd of antelope. And all I did was simply land my horn on my pickup and got a whole herd to come within 25 yards of me. So
ours are not that dumb, especially down in Dave's area in Springfield, Colorado. It's very similar to what you're describing, just wide open, see for miles. I see antelope. Yeah, they're a mile away from the road, and that's the closest to the road that they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like that's not always the case, but you're driving around looking when you're antelope hunting, you will see herds that are miles away from the road, and you're like, there is no possible way for me to get to those. But there's also herds that are closer. Unfortunately, in Dave's area, they get a lot of pressure. I'm sure it's local Colorado hunters and possibly some from Oklahoma or Kansas or Texas or whatever. They come and they shoot at the antelope. They chase them all over the place. So by the time we get to them in December, they're properly spooked. And so even a truck stopping is like, no, bye.
Yeah, our deer are like that, but our antelope aren't. So
maybe I was going to say maybe we should look into antelope hunting in South Dakota then, because I like dumb antelope. I don't like smart run away from truck antelope.
Well, it does depend where you're at. There's different areas of the country where they are a little bit more savvy.
Yeah.
And some of that has to do with the amount of pressure that they get. I have, however, had, or I hate to say called, but I have brought antelope in with a Walmart sack before, like a plastic bag.
Done that too. Just swing
But
it
have
over your
you
head.
done that during hunting season?
Yes. Actually, this is a trick that I learned about antelope hunting when I first started doing it. They go, "Oh no, what you need is a stick with a white flag, like a white handkerchief."
Mm-hmm.
And if you would wave, like a snow goose, like flapper decoy, works really well
Huh.
because you sit there and wave this white stick at them, and they're like, "Hey, what's that?" And they'll start walking over to investigate it.
Yep.
Dude, we need to try that next year.
Yeah.
Also, I want to get into snow geese hunting too, so I may as well get a snow goose decoy.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, I know the guy who kind of, well, he invented a type of antelope decoy for shooting them with a bow. You have somebody hold it out in front of you and then you walk up on them.
I actually had that idea that might work for rifle hunting, and I texted a few CPW officers I know, and I was like, "Hey, is this legal?" And they're like, "Yeah, we try it all the time." They're just the ones in southeastern Colorado are not that dumb.
Yeah.
They're
Now, if we want to give you guys a challenge, you guys should come up for pheasant hunting.
ooh
Now,
ooh
that's
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. Well, actually, if we're going to do that, we should go grouse hunting. Shoot smaller
Yes.
birds that are faster.
Yes. And our South Dakota wind, bye-bye.
Well, considering my problem dove hunting this year was I was overleading the birds by a lot. I'd love to shoot at fast things because then I can overlead the birds by a lot and actually hit them.
Yep. So we're for hunting with us when it comes to like grouse and pheasant. Like on our place, you can shoot 3 grouse or 3 prairie chicken a day, as well as 3 pheasant a day during pheasant season.
Nice.
So, like, we will commonly take, prairie chicken / grouse and pheasant on the same hunt.
Nice. Man, that sounds fun.
It really, really is.
It's a good way to kill somebody.
It's a good way to kill your own dinner. I mean, what is genuinely more satisfying than let me paint you a picture here. So we're dove hunting this year. I brought my daughter on that because dove hunting is a great introduced to child hunting too. But so we go dove hunting. Sam and I went. Sam got 7. I got 2 because I was overleading them by a lot. I would have gotten 3 except that one I told the story of on our show, but the short version is I hit him from 60 or 70 yards away, and it must have hit him in the back of the head with a BB or something, because when I walked up on him, he was just like laying there. But as soon as I walked up close, he was like, what? And just flew off. And I was too flabbergasted to take a shot at him from close range. The fact that I hit him from so far away and then he just got up and flew off, I was like, all right, buddy, next time.
Happy motoring.
Yep. Enjoy your headache.
He may have locked up again. We'll see. There we go. He'll come back. I have faith.
He's here.
Yep.
I'm here, mostly.
Well, here, you'll appreciate this, and this is something I got on my last year's pheasant hunt. Ran out of the woods, and I got him right there.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I did.
Did was he coming right for you?
Yeah, he was.
The majestic,
really tiny teeth.
the majestic jackalope.
Yeah.
Remember, Garth, it's an audio podcast. I'm new to the podcasting, and I know this. Hey guys, look what's on my wall. No description whatsoever.
Yes,
well, I'm sitting there.
It's the noble jackalope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They come at you with the really fangy front teeth, and they will bite you in the ankles.
I hate to say your jackalope has a bigger rack almost than my first deer did.
That's okay. Everyone gets excited. It always looks bigger in the scope.
I honestly, I didn't care that story. I'm out. That's why we started a podcast. I'd tell hunting stories all damn day. But
So, are you a trophy hunter then, or you just
no,
put meat in the freezer?
I just want meat in the freezer. I got family members that are pretty well experienced hunters, and one of them took me to our family area, and he was like, "Well, what's your goal here? You looking for like a buck, or are you looking for some food?" And I was like, "I'm looking for some food." He's like, "So you just want to kill something?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I want some food." So I ended up shooting a buck that I waited out about 3 or 4 hours on the side of a mountain. I knew he was in the thicket, just waited for him to show his face in the clearing. And at about 4 p.m., he did, and boom, down he went.
Very
Well,
cool.
that
Uh,
works.
he was honestly, he was a big 3-pointer. His neck was so big. Considering I'd shot a doe pronghorn a month earlier, and after I, gutted her out, she's this like 90-pound animal soaking wet, and I come upon this like 160, 170 pound necklace deer. Like this guy, it was like the Arnold of deers, but he wasn't even that mature. He was only a 3-pointer, but he was just muscular. He was huge. Or maybe it's just my perspective, because he was the first deer I'd ever shot, and he's the first buck I'd ever shot, honestly. So I had no idea.
Yep. And
What does that mean, Thomas? Yeah, okay, Prado money, cool, but what is if it's brown, it's down mean? That don't make no sense.
that's
It's your deer. Yeah.
if you see it, you're gonna shoot it.
Okay, but what does my Prado have to do with it? That's what I'm asking.
I think you're just more excited that you have a Prado.
I think he's the one that brought it up. I didn't say it
Yeah.
until he did, to be fair.
No, so like actually for Christmas dinner this year, I cooked game that I took with my AR-10.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a
hog.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Speaking of which, hog gun, deer gun, elk gun, it's not gonna. I got to run something by you, and this has been a dream project of mine for a while, and
Yes,
you
can fit a 300 RSOM into an AR-10 action.
I was gonna do a 30-06 actually, but I have never heard of that caliber. Thank you for the obscure reference I didn't get.
A 300 Remington short action Ultra Meg.
So 30-06 in an AR-10.
30-06 in an AR-10. You cannot do it on a standard AR-10 receiver. As
Which is
30-06 is a long action. 308 is a short action.
Okay.
And the AR-10 was designed for a short action. So it would be, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, 260 Remington, any of the 308 derivatives. Nemo Arms used to make a 30-06 AR.
There are currently 2 companies. I think Nemo's one of them.
And Falcor would probably be the other.
Yeah, and they like their ARs in 30-06 very much. And
Yep.
honestly, if they're the only 2 that make them, I don't blame them for liking them as much as they do. But
Yeah,
man,
they also really like their 300 Win Mag ones.
Ooh, that could be fun too.
Yeah, the RSOM that I was talking about, it's 300 Win Mag performance out of a short mag.
Oh wow!
Like, let me now, as I furiously Google.
I mean,
I can hear you. Peck.
I mean, he will furiously Google.
Peck. Goop. Goop. How do you is it 1-0 or 2? Goggle.
So, yeah.
I mean, I can't hook you up with a 30-06, but I can hook you up with a 243 AR if you're interested.
That'd be pretty cool too. I'm looking for a 204 Ruger AR also, actually. For
that
those
I can't
varmints.
do. I have a 240. Well, I don't. I know a guy.
I have built and converted several to 204 for a guy.
I think I know who I need to build me a 204 AR then.
Yep, I've done that. That is a thing.
Is that the guy who did the gold ARs?
No, different guy.
Okay, just checking. It seems like something he would do.
No. So here is some performance for you. If you just wanted to know about RSOM versus what I called the RSOM, so a lot of times I just call it SOM for short action ultra magnum. So a 30-06 with a 200 grain bullet, you have a muzzle velocity of 2,569. The 300 RSOM is 2,790, and the 300 Win Mag is 2,870.
Wow.
So you got a lot of snort.
A little bit.
I was actually trying to come up with a clever joke. I was like, man, there's a joke in there somewhere, but I just couldn't find it.
Yep, just like a deer.
Ouch.
Yep, see there, we got the Ohio internet back.
No, that wasn't Ohio internet. That was just me pausing for a second because I had to reel from the bird.
No, so the hunting with an AR is great, and I too can sit around and tell hunting stories for hours on end. And
most of them will get me in trouble, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, let's we'll have to make plans to come up to South Dakota, and then we can tell the stories we're not supposed to tell.
That is fine with me.
Tell them around a camp.
One of my favorite hunting experiences involved muskrats in an iced over lake.
Oh yeah,
interesting.
Or not a lake, but a stock dam. We had muskrats starting to destroy one of our stock dams. So we sat up about 100 yards away with suppressed 17s. And there's like a 15-foot open water chunk where they'd come out of the huts. And we sat there and probably shot 300 muskrats.
Oh, man. Oh, you had a day. Oh.
Those things thump when you hit them. Prairie dogs miss. These things just boom. Got him.
Yes. So where can they find the Let's Go Hunt podcast?
Let's Go Hunt is on the Firearms Radio Network, along with you guys and tons of other fantastic shows that the network hosts. And if you go to firearmsradio.net and just go to the search bar, search Let's Go Hunt, make sure you put the apostrophe because it's Let Us Go Hunt, and that's how apostrophes work. Anyway, that's your grammar lesson for this evening. Go in there, firearmsradio.net, search Let's Go Hunt, and we should pop right up. You can also do the same thing on any of the podcast apps, including Spotify. That wasn't recently the case. We did just get that fixed. So now we show up if you search Let's Go Hunt in podcast apps also.
Yes, and that's Let's Go Hunt with an H.
Yes. I know the H is silent, but the H is there.
Yes.
So make sure you spell it right. HUNT.
Yes. Yes, we're not talking about Hillary Clinton.
Jeez.
So, now that I've derailed that, where else can they find you, like on your social medias, or if somebody wanted to check out and see what you guys are posting and talking about?
Well, Let's Go Hunt. We also have a Instagram and Instagram. I guess I should grammar myself. We are Let's Go Hunt Podcast on Instagram. We're working on our social media presence. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to do a Facebook page because honestly, Facebook can fall off a cliff and die for all I care. As I sit here staring at it as one of my open tabs. In any case, we're working on a social media presence. We're going to start. We may or may not start doing live shows, but that's down the road. You can also find me in particular on the YouTubes as Skyline Shooter. I put a lot of my competitive videos up. I just film myself shooting my AR-9 in USPSA matches. Although I will say I haven't done that in quite some time, not since last April, because I've been healing from a surgery. So you won't see any recent stuff from me, but I've got plenty of fun stuff for you to watch up there.
Yes. That's okay. I watched your videos and lived vicariously through you before.
I'm glad someone gets entertainment out of them. Ooh.
Yep. And
there it is.
Yeah. My deer rifle is not an SBR, but just a 16-inch AR-10 and 308, and actually I just put new optics on that.
Ooh.
Yep.
What did you go with?
Well, I took off this 1-8.
It's a junk scope. Sorry, I never got behind him.
Yep, it is not a good one. And instead, I now have a Swamp Fox Optics 4-20 by 50.
Nice.
Someday those guys will sponsor us.
Now, let me just ask, what was that 1x8 that you waved in front of the screen for those of us that can't read this and also audio podcast?
Yeah, no. So this is a right-on 1-8, and it's a first focal plane 34 millimeter tube. And I don't recall what they call them now because they changed all of their branding for what their scopes were called.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because now they have like tactics and all of this. And
well, if it's a terrible scope and their name was right on, I would have changed it to left off. But that's just me.
It's not so much that it's a terrible scope. The eye relief and the reticle are a little funky to me, and I just found better options.
Just two of the most important things for any scope.
Yeah, like Swamp Fox makes several that are just way better options. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could buy a $30 LPVO off the shelf in Walmart that's a better option.
Yeah, that was a $1,600 scope. And, I replaced it with a Swamp Fox.
Oh, that says something about both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And
gotta love.
We mentioned sponsors, and I just realized that we have made it an hour and not talked about any of ours.
I do that.
We just
I'm really good at
it.
Yes. Because, those things happen, and, it is an unsafe time in the world. And do you want to keep you and your loved ones safe in these uncertain times? Are you looking for a full kit setup or just to upgrade what you have? Then you need to look into Predator Armor. Quality American-made armor, not some cheap junk from across the Pacific. From lightweight, flexible backpack armor to full plate carriers with plates, loaded IFAKs, and more. Predator Armor has it all. Use code AR-15-10 for 10% off. And if you can't get a grip on that, you can definitely get a grip on VZ grips. The unique features of VZ grips is they're machined from a solid block of G10. And G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when it's covered in mud, blood, or sweat. The 17-degree grip angle and wide variety of textures from mild to extreme. And color options are also available so you can have that picture perfect rifle. 1911 grips, extremely customizable, standard slim palm swells, thumb notches, safety cuts, bottom profiles, and more. More than 25 textures and 27 colors available. And they make revolver grips and grips for my beloved Berettas as well. This coupon code is good for 15% off all handgun and rifle grips, and that code is AR-15POD.
Man, that sounds like a package deal. Speaking of package deals, why don't you tell them about TacPack, Dooley?
Well, TacPack's running out here on the end. So TacPack is a monthly gear drop brought straight to your door. Each month they send a new box with tons of gear. So whether you're into survival gear, knives, gun cleaning, or gun parts, TacPack always has gear for you. All new subscribers will receive an additional $70 in free gear that will ship separately from your first monthly TacPack. And this code is only good for new box subscriptions. And that code is AR-15 podcast.
You know what? Once you're on the range and you're all kitted up and you've got your Gucci AR grip with all your cool TacPack gear, head over to Patriot Patch, patriotpatch.co for all your patches, your morale patches, your Patches of the Month Club, your tin signs, and our favorite mouse pad. Because who doesn't like a smooth mouse pad when they're scrolling on their computer looking at all your favorite guns to buy? So go ahead and check those guys out. Patriot Patch, patriotpatch.co.
There we go. We made it through them all.
Sure did.
Oh, and the segues on most of them were just excellent, except for that last one, Garth. That was weak sauce, man.
It was, but you know what?
If any of these are not relevant to you, we also have patches.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't say that. I just said go gooch yourself out and then go get some patches.
Like patches are not gooch.
Well, okay, you caught me. Well,
speaking
if
of
would
which,
share the damn ad reads, then I could do that too.
I mean, I don't have show notes, so I'm sitting here quietly looking at the phone. I'm also I'm looking at that patch. Nick, I'm looking at that patch on your mic, and that looks like either a DeLorean.
Oh no, that is Face from the A-Team.
Okay, what kind of car is that?
That is a Corvette. Like a solid 1986 Corvette with a white stripe or red stripe.
I was gonna say white stripe, huh?
Yeah, white Corvette with a red stripe.
It's Jamaican for beer.
Yes.
Hooray beer.
So again, where can they find you? We have the Let's Go Hunt podcast on here, and we've taken up enough of your evening.
Not enough, honestly, but
and everyone, make sure you go check out the Let's Go Hunt. If you enjoy listening to us, you will enjoy listening to them, and you might learn something about hunting.
Probably not, but if you enjoy listening to us, that's cool with us.
All right. Well, Garth, do you have anything else to add here before we?
I've been up for like 17 hours now. I'm ready to go to bed, so no.
Well, let me just say thanks so much for having me on, guys. This was a ton of fun. I can't believe we blew your entire show without sponsors. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have this thing where I will start talking about things and we get going and telling stories. And then I kind of forget because I don't do the smart thing where I have like buzzers that go, hey, we should have an organized conversation where I know we have so much time before we do a sponsor.
Honestly, the shows out there that are organized conversation, like we have show notes for ours and they're off to the side and we kind of go from them and they keep us organized and like on topic most of the evening. but we still go off on tangents all the time. And that's what's fun, man. The ones that are just like blah, 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 like, shut up. I don't want to hear you. I want you to make it fun. Make what I'm.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, show notes would help. No, I was just going to say,
help.
like,
actually to show that we're prepared and we're never prepared.
Fair enough.
Well, there's been several times where like I've typed show notes up and had them all ready to go,
and then he never opened the tab,
or like they're there and off to the side, but then I get a question sprung on me, and I end up going on a 45-minute rant about long piston versus short piston.
Yeah.
So I'll one more final thought. I read a quote from Stephen King a long time ago, and basically the quote paraphrased was that some writers will create an outline of their novel or whatever it is they're writing. They'll have chapters, they'll have, page by page outlines of what's supposed to happen. And then there's writers like Stephen King who will just start writing, and then things just happen in his brain and he puts them on paper. And if you've read a Stephen King novel, you can see exactly what I'm talking about, because that is the only way stuff like that comes out of a person's head. And the reason I know that is because that's how I write also. And if Nick were a writer, that's also very clearly how Nick would write, because but the glory, the great part of that, and that it's not a bad thing. It's a very wonderful thing. And King said it best: when you outline your story or you outline your show, and you just have to, yeah, sure, you got to throw the sponsors in there because that's what they're there for. But if you've got to have this strict outline that you have to adhere to, one, you're not going to have any fun, and two, you're not going to go into the crazy tangents that guys like us go into. And it's when you write that, when you start writing like that, you have a character, you have your story, you have your basic plot, and you just go, and it will evolve in ways that you never thought imaginable. You will take your characters on journeys you didn't think were going to ever happen when you started the story. And that's guys like you and me. That's how we go through life, is we just make it up as we go along. And it's just, and Garth, I'm sorry, I don't know you well enough to say you're the same kind of person. And frankly, I'd probably monopolize too much of the podcast as it is to get to know you on this one. So,
oh, no worries.
Yep, that is. But again, thanks for coming on, Garth. We already talked about where we can meet everyone and where we can send everything.
Yes.
So, with that, folks, you folks out there, stay safe and stay armed. You want to support the show? Subscribe and interact on social media. AR-15 Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. AR-15 Podcast on Facebook. AR-15 Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com if you just want to drop us a line. Find us online at firearmsradio.net. Click through our sponsors and support the people who support our show. Primary Arms, VZ Grips, Predator Armor, TacPack, and Patriot Patch Company.